Today we're going to talk about project accounting for services business. We're going to do a 30-minute webinar. What we're going to do is run through a little bit about Acumatica for those of you who are not familiar with it. That's probably 1 to 2 minutes at most. Talk about some of the key issues for services business. And then most of the time we're going to show how to resolve those key issues by doing a simple software demonstration using the Acumatica Project Accounting Suite. So just to get started, everybody who's already familiar with Acumatica, this will be a little bit of review for you. The notion of Acumatica is that it can involve everybody in your entire organization, whether they're on mobile devices, whether they're on tablets, phones, Androids, iOS, however they can get to all their business data when they want. And we're going to see why that's important for services businesses in just a second. That includes data entry, reports, everything that you need to get access to. Acumatica itself is a cloud product, which means everything I show you today in the demonstration is going to be done in a browser. 100% of the functionality is available through the browser. Using this platform, we've written a number of applications. The application that we're going to be focusing on today is this project accounting application. Now, the important thing that you'll notice immediately is that all these applications are integrated. So if you have somebody that's in your CRM department that's involved with the early end start of a project, all the notes, etc., are immediately available to your project accounting suite. In addition, financials, distribution, everything that you can see there is available with one integrated solution. Furthermore, we have several verticals who have written embedded applications. These are also available too. So a customer in the financial management system is the same customer that's available in manufacturing, for example. Last but not least, we allow you to communicate with other systems through a robust system of SOAP and REST-based APIs. That allows you to communicate in real-time or batch mode, depending on how you want, with external applications that you see there. So let's talk more about project accounting and how that's going to help a services business. Project accounting is basically a microcosm of all your standard accounting process. The difference is that you organize things. Your normal financials are kept separately. But by assigning a specific project code to different jobs and tasks, you can organize the budgets as well as the actual profitability by individual projects. So it'll help you really determine if a specific project is profitable or not. You can also use internal projects if you're just interested in tracking costs and associating overhead with those costs. A little bit of a difference about project versus your standard financial accounting processes. You can deviate from GAAP. That's possible with a project if you want to include some things that are not necessarily GAAP compliant. However, the projects will automatically post the GAAP compliant transactions back to your regular ledger. That guarantees that they're in sync. One of the other things that's nice about project accounting is you have flexible calendars. So if your regular financials are organized in financial periods, that doesn't mean your projects have to be organized that way. And that will cover projects that span years, that span financial periods as well. The last nice piece of things about project accounting is it enables several different types of advanced billing, percentage of completion, milestone, and time and materials. So that's all I'm going to talk about from a chalk talk perspective. Now let's get into the software itself. I'm going to go ahead and log in, and we're going to talk about some of the challenges with services business as part of this initial slide that you see here. This is the normal sales demo data that is provided. One of the new dashboards that we had included is this thing called Project Flow. Now, as you can see, a project can be a very complicated thing. This box here represents all the different inputs. These inputs can be coming from employees that create purchase orders, sales orders, timesheets, expense reports. All those things can impact your financials. Likewise, vendors and subcontractors can submit bills and other things that you need to include. Now, all these things find their way into your general ledger. That's pretty straightforward. That's business as usual. But what happens if some of these items get tagged with a specific project ID? In that case, it's shuttled over to a specific project area here. This project area is what I talked about before. It's a specific area that helps you track the costs associated with specific applications and things in your business. Now, once the transactions make their way into the project area, then you can see that we run through a couple of things that are specific. We run through an allocation and a billing step. The allocation rules are very important. What that lets you do is if somebody submits a timesheet which contains specific costs to the general ledger, those costs immediately get passed over to your project. But you may want to take those costs and mark them up, or you may take those costs and apply a new rate altogether, or you may just want to attribute them to the cost of the project if it's a fixed price project. The allocation rules is what helps you determine that, and by setting up different allocation rules within each project, it makes it a very simple and seamless process. The next optional step is billing. Now, once again, I said you could run internal projects, so if you're running an internal project, you obviously don't need to bill it. But billing can take all of the information that you've allocated, and it can bill based on a fixed rate, based on a percentage of completion, or based on certain milestones billing that you will have. What we're going to try and work through today is an example project that will show you how to take a few of these different scenarios into effect all at once. Now, the other thing that you may have noticed here down at the bottom, I've got a list of active projects. This is very important. One of the key things about a services business is you've got many projects going on simultaneously, and you need a way to drill into them and have a quick top-side view of which ones are working out, which ones are nearing their budget, and which ones you really need to keep an eye on. So we'll see TMR03 right here is already over budget, and it's still in the active status. So it's something that a project manager would immediately be alerted to and have to do something about. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and click in here and create a new project. Now, creating a new project in Acumatica is quite easy. So we'll do this one. We'll call this project demo. Your project ID can automatically be generated if you prefer it. And as a customer, you can select different ones that you want to do as well. So you just specify a project ID, a customer, and then we have these things called project templates. The project template defines the entire rest of your project. It's kind of a starting point to define a project. So with basically 3 clicks, I've created my project. So that helps me get projects started very quickly. Now, let's go ahead and do something a little more interesting with this one. We'll start navigating through the project itself and making a few minor modifications to it. So now we've added a more interesting description. As with all Acumatica things, you can go, you can add notes as you need to. You can drag files in if you need to attach a file to the specific project, assign start and end dates, project managers, restrict employees. So you'll see over here in the Employees tab, these are all the employees that by default get access to this project. If I don't want Bill Owen to see it, I just get rid of him. I happen to be logged in as Maxwell Baker, who's my admin, so it might be good to add myself actually to the project so I can see it if I want to enter a timesheet or do something like that. Over here you can also see there's several different defaults. I'm going to select on-demand billing. That's going to let me bypass waiting for times of the month to come up or weeklies or other things that you want to do your billing. The billing's very flexible, but for demo purposes, on-demand is what we're going to do. Now, tasks is where we're going to go, and we're going to start establishing a budget for this project. Your top-level budget can be viewed in this area called balances. This is what it looks like from an overall balance. So we've got some revenue and some labor. This is a very simple project. Within Acumatica, there's this function called auto budget. This is going to run through my project if everything goes according to schedule and automatically generate some of my revenue lines. Now let's take a look at more deeply into these numbers. Each individual task can be set up. These are budgetary tasks, not tasks you think of in the project management standpoint. Like a project management task would be, write specification for a project. That might be a task. The task, and that can be accommodated too. You can go in and create specific chores and other things to do in the activities area. So if I would want to, I'd go in and add a specific task. Let's say I wanted to, provide estimate for work would be a task that would have to be done. And I could set up a due date for that. And I can assign it to somebody I'd want. Let's assign it to one of my salespeople. I look for Steve Church. There he is. And so now that'll appear. That'll appear on his specific dashboard as something that he has to follow up on. And it's also, you'll get a running list of activities that happen on my project right here. Now the type of task I was referring to earlier, these are the budgetary tasks. So let's drill down into the analysis and estimates part. One of the first things you'll notice here is that the allocation rule is set up as a fixed price. So this is a situation, and we can do all types of different projects. We do projects for software implementations. We do projects for electricians, HVACs. We can do projects for installations of big equipment. We can do projects of all kinds of capital and non-capital based projects. In this case, we have a real simple one, though. So you'll see that there's this project estimate fee of $500. And in order, we think Steve Church is going to have to go out and do about 4 hours of work to do that. Now, the interesting thing about this task is notice it's set up as a fixed price. So even if Steve Church does a whole bunch of work on this, we're still only going to bill $500. However, we will keep track of all the time that gets logged into this. In addition, if Steve's out in the field and incurs some expenses or other things, some travel or other things, that will also get logged, but it won't get rebilled as a result of this. Thus, the fixed price, allocation rule, and billing rule. So now the other thing that we can do is we can bill more based on a time and materials basis. So if we want to look at this task, for example, you'll see that we have some senior consultant tasks where we're budgeting 40 hours of work once that gets done. Now, once again, change orders are an important part of any services business. And there's a couple different ways that we handle change orders. So let's say Steve comes out and after, or Steve Church goes out and does his estimate that's at a fixed fee, we can later come back and change this work hours to be whatever budget quantity we want it to be. So if we wanted to, increase it or decrease it, Acumatica will keep track of the original as well as the current amount of hours that have been budgeted. In addition, you'll notice that my project balances are automatically summarized and updated here as well. Now, the last task I had just as a final billing in case of a milestone billing, I'm not really going to use that one in this particular example. All right, so now through the miracle of time, we're going to go in and actually start making some things happen. We're going to have to do this quickly because we don't have a lot of time allotted for this. So we're going to go ahead and say Steve has gone out and done what he needs to do. He may have entered some timesheets and posted some expenses, but we're gonna bypass that, and we're going to say that the original estimating stage is now complete, and we're going to activate this, and we're going to go ahead and activate our project. And just like that, we've got a couple people in the project once, so I've got another person already logged in, so we'll take control of our project, and we'll go once again do what I just showed. Acumatica has something called optimized or optimistic locking. So if two people are in something in the same time, it lets you know that. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've gone and we've activated we've completed our first task, and we've activated something for the installation work to take place. So now is when we go into this idea of everybody can be involved in a project. In order to better show how somebody else would be involved, we're going to go over here and bring up another browser, and we're going to log in as one of my workers. This is one of the person that might be out in the field doing what they need to do, and they might go in and enter timesheets on a regular basis. So I'm going to click there to enter a timesheet. To enter a timesheet, it's pretty simple. You go in. I think this was the Church of the Apostles. Yeah, we just start typing, and it'll come up with that one. This is part of the installation, and we'll just say we spent all week on doing it. We'll do some repair work. Oops. Now, all these comments that are being made have the option to flow through to the billing or not. So, you know, it's up to, and they can all be fixed if we have people in the field not making good descriptions. All that can get replaced as well. Once Mr. Get It Done is happy with his time sheet, he submits it. And I'm going to go here. And so let's see what we did here. Let's try that one more time. The project is not active, it says. So let me go back. Oh, that's right. I forgot to activate my project. So let me go activate my project. And now we can actually go ahead and submit this time card. So as part of the webinar, you're getting a lesson in how we keep track of making sure people do things that they're authorized to do, somewhat unintentionally. All right, so now we've gone ahead, and you'll see that this is pending approval. So we're going to go in, and you can get a quick look at who's holding them up. Now, this is part of the workflow process. Within the workflow, there's this, you can have different people approve different projects. You may have the project manager do an initial approval and then pass the approvals over to the person's boss. So that way, if a person's working on many projects, the different project managers can take a look at it, and then after that, the boss can kind of compile things and make sure that everything's copacetic on the full week-by-week basis. In this case, I've just gone directly to his boss, Michael Andrews. So we're going to log out as our worker, and we're going to log in as the boss, and Michael Andrews logs in. Now, another thing about workflow is you'll see that down here in my dashboard, I'm immediately alerted to the fact that I have some approvals waiting. I can enter these approvals on a mobile device, or I can click directly in here and get to that screen. I can open up the time card itself if need be, make any adjustments, and then actually approve the time card, should that be the proper way to go. Once it's approved, releasing it is essentially posting it to the general ledger. So I'll go ahead and release that. And now we've gone ahead and we've entered a timesheet and approved it. So we're going to shuttle our workers out of the way now, and we're going to come back to our project. At this point, you're going to see we have some labor that's flowed in. This is for the 40 hours of cost that has been done. Now, we haven't billed it out yet. So over here, back to our project flow, let's review what's happened. We had Get It Done come in. He was one of our employees, and he entered a timesheet, which then went through an approval process and made its way to the general ledger, which got carried over to the project that we created. We also have a fixed price material that's waiting for allocation. So the next step is to come along and do some allocations here. Now we can allocate by projects, or we can actually run allocations by specific tasks. So maybe one of the projects we want to do project demo. Here's a couple of different tasks. Maybe we don't want to allocate the installation, or maybe we do. Maybe we just want to allocate that initial estimate because we want to get that bill out the door. So we'll go in and we'll run the allocation for that. If I go back to my project, you'll see that now I've got unbilled revenue and unrecognized revenue waiting. So what that means is we've successfully gotten through this allocation part with my fixed price, and it's waiting for billing. So if I click my billing tab, once again, this could be set up to run automatically. Everywhere in Acumatica, you see the scheduler button, things occur automatically. So this is going to reduce a lot of the busy work that you're used to with posting invoices directly and making sure something's happened. Another thing I forgot to point in terms of this automation was Michael Andrews, who had to do that approval, was not only notified through a dashboard, but he received an email alert telling him he has an approval waiting. So we're just going to go ahead and run billing for all this. I could have run this directly from the project itself as well, but I'll go ahead and run it from this area. So now if I go back to my project, we should see the appearance of an invoice. Now, I'm going to go in and actually view my invoice. Once again, I could have been notified by this when an invoice gets created that's related to a specific project, notify the project manager. That would be done through a notification rule that you would set up in this area. Now, I've got my project bill. Maybe I don't like milestone. You could say estimate fee, or I'll call it that for now. And now I have the option of actually emailing this invoice directly to my client at the Church of the Apostles to make sure everything's all right. And that's going to be logged, of course, as an activity. So I can go in here and email that, taking a risk here that we actually have a valid email address on file for this person, and apparently we do, so it's logged as an activity. When I hear back and it's approved, then I might want to go ahead and actually release this invoice, which is going to post it to the GL and make it an official accounts payable. Now once again, getting back to what our project is all about, our project is all about tracking these different things. So what you'll see here is in real time, I've moved all my unbilled and unrecognized down to here. Now the other thing that I might want to do, let's go ahead and switch back to here. We might just want to go ahead and allocate everything in our project. So we're going to have a demo proj. I'm going to narrow this proj demo, sorry. And we're going to go ahead and run an allocation for all the different tasks. This is going to pick up all that time that we had, and it's going to apply the appropriate rate to it. So if we come back here, once again, what's happening is we're running an allocation based on a set of allocation rules. The allocation rules that we're running for this particular one is called TMR. And what that does is it's looking in at I'm not going to get into a detailed description of all these allocation rules, but you can see I can get very detailed about formulas I create and then about how I would post that to a general ledger and make a general ledger entry out of that. I can pick specific accounts, and then I can, once again, reverse this. This is very important when I'm posting it to accounts like unbilled and unrecognized revenue. As soon as I release the invoice, all this allocation will get wiped out. You'll also notice one of the things that I have in here is I have the ability to re-invoice travel expenses. This is something called an attribute. So if I go to my project, you'll notice I can go in, I can say, okay, all my travel expenses are going to get marked up by a certain amount. Project burdens are also very important. Project burdens allow you to go ahead and attribute for things that are not direct labor. So if you spend a lot of time in meetings or you spend off project times, vacations, spot awards, all those things can get rolled up into a project burden percentage, which you can apply globally. In this case, I have it set up so that you can apply a different burden by each project. And then, of course, you can set up other different attributes as you need to. These are all easily definable. No coding is required to set these up and apply them to specific projects. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've set up a bunch of allocations. So let's see what that's done. It's created additional amounts that are ready for bill. So all that labor that's already been done. So remember, we sent out the initial estimate, and then somebody went out and did the work, and now we're ready to basically go ahead and bill that work. If we want to see what this looks like back on our home page, you'll see project demos now up at the top, and you can see the budget less actual is looking a little nervous because something went wrong with my calculation there. I've flagged it, but I think we're still all right. If we drill down into it, we'll see that things are still going all right down here. So let's go ahead and run the project billing. I did it before I did it from my main billing screen. I can also do it on a project-by-project basis, so I'll go ahead and do that. And now I should have two invoices. I have my estimate and my actual billing for my project. Once again, I can go in as needed, review it, send it to the client, get his approval. If you don't like the way these all worked out, the allocation rule formats what goes into this description field and formats how many lines appear here. If I had chose to do that, I can link them all together here. Another nice little feature you'll see at the end is the ability to say complete line or bill later. So let's say that at the very end when I'm about to send out this invoice, I look at it and I'm like, ooh, the client's not going to like that in the least amount. So I'm going to reduce the number of hours or change something. If I do that, I can hit bill later and it might bill it next month. So maybe the client, maybe we don't want to bill too much too soon. The other thing I can do is hit complete line. What that will do is it'll reverse out all the allocation that I had, but it will only bill a certain percentage of the money. All right, in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and release it. And at this point, our project's mostly done. So that's a step through a real quick project in terms of all these little things that you see here going over to the project itself. Now, one other thing that we want to point out real quickly is that all these things don't necessarily have to happen on a desktop computer, as I've showed you here. Thinking back to the real power of Acumatica, one of the most important things was that you can access it from anywhere. So let's go back, and I'm going to go onto my Android device and click my Acumatica application. And I'll log in as myself, Maxwell Baker. Let me make this a little bit bigger. And now you'll see I have the ability to go in and log expenses or time cards or do approvals and other sorts of things directly to my projects. I can also go here into projects itself and see how things look. I'm going to go ahead, we'll just do a quick expense. And we'll click that red plus button down at the bottom to create a new expense receipt. And we'll call this food for project. And we'll go in and pick a specific expense, an amount, okay. Then we can go here and we can go pick our project demo you see right there. And now I have a couple options here. If I want to rebill this, I can click the install, or if I just want to make it part of my overall dimensioning and keep track of what I did, I can hit the estimate. So we'll do the estimate. Okay, I've already completed that one, so we'll do the install. Now at this point, we've gone ahead. We can obviously do attachments. I don't have anything very interesting lying around my desk, but we'll try and grab a gift card, take that in, make it part, hit it, submit, and now that becomes part of my overall expense claims. We can do submit that. That's just automatically going to create my expense claim for me. And just like that, from a mobile device, I've gone ahead and added something that's going into the approval stage for my project. Now, it's not going to show up on the project balance yet because it still has to be approved, but you would be able to go in and make that happen. So that's a little bit of looking at how that goes. Now, the other important thing about services business and about projects in general is getting the information you need out of the system when you need it. So I already showed you that there's a way to keep an eye on active projects right here. But let's look at a couple other project reports that are going to be very important to you. The first thing that you can see is we have an area called reporting. One of the things that you can look at there is a project summary report. So the default report that runs allows you to pull in things from various places. This isn't the project we just worked on, it's a different one. I can pull in pictures, I can pull in a nice bar chart, the budget, how you're doing according to budget. In this case, the budget even breaks down by line to see that your labor's over, but it looks like we stole some labor from a subcontractor. Maybe we didn't subcontract something out. Here's all the invoices that have been produced, as well as purchase orders. So you can see here that I have a purchase order that's still open for this particular thing, so I can probably expect some more costs to come in. If I want to click on that purchase order, it pops it open and should take me directly to that purchase order that's outstanding for that project. The other important thing about projects that I didn't show, you can allocate inventory to them if you're in a business that requires inventory. If I go to project profit and loss by month, let's do our proj demo. We can get a detailed look at how we're doing by month. This is important so that you can track for those long-term projects. You can see how things are adding up month by month to see what's been allocated and what's been billed on a monthly basis, and see if, even though you're still okay according to your main budget, you might be losing, you might be way over budget for all the months prior to that, and the only reason you're still not over your project budget is because you have 3 months left in the project. This is a type of report that will help you easily determine that. Now, for those of you who are really sharp out there and eyeballing things, you're like, how did $320 appear in last month's budget when you only entered a timesheet? The problem that occurred there was that my friend Get It Done didn't get it done last month and was a little negligent in entering his timesheet. So you can see here he's got a little bit of money left over, as well as the part that was registered. So the week for his timesheet spanned those two. Anyway, this gives you a nice month-by-month look at things. You can also get into detailed project transactions. Let's go look at the one we just did, demo projects, demo. This will give you a complete work breakdown of everything that's been done and breaks it out by those different tasks we had, where you can take a look at everything that's occurred. And then, of course, the last thing that's very important is using standard generic Acumatica tools, such as my generic inquiries. You can go in and create your own project reports to manage anything that you would need. You know, labor efficiency, all those types of reports that you need to generate that are part of your running your business can be generated through a simple generic inquiry. So that's a 30-minute look in terms of what we're going to do with projects. Just a quick summary once again, for the services business, projects are going to help you pull basically everything in your business together in terms of these mini P&Ls. The mini P&Ls can help you focus project by project, while at the same time automatically tying into your regular GL. If I had gone into the regular GL, you would have seen that the transactions that I processed that were part of the demo project were also immediately available in the general ledger, so that your company books equal the project books. So that's the end of the scheduled part of the webinar. I'm going to stay on the line for 5 to 10 more minutes to see if there's any questions that arose during the demonstration that I might be able to answer. Thank you for attending.